Hey, Internet. Happy Eve of Solstice. Uh, Hope you're finding yourself in ideal situations. I know the year hasn't been too hot, but somehow we got through to the end just a few more days left. But today we are going to examine the possibility that you may have chosen poor religion. I mean, just a religion in general. That's all. That's already peculiar. A lot of that stuff is theft of spirituality that was discovered in the mother continent. But Sankofa is all about going back for what's yours, going back for the knowledge and understanding of the ancestors. So there's a lot of people with false prophets, especially if you are in one of the colonized slave quarters. Now, this is no judgment to anyone. I was raised Christian. Everybody has a right to be wrong. It's hard to escape it. It's like that damn U2 album that was put on everybody's phone one time. Nobody wanted it, but it's just like it's there, and it's just hard to ignore it. But let's examine the possibilities. Some of the signs when you have a religion that is a scam. Okay, first, if you are praising some white African savior, that religion is a scam. Definitely. If your savior looks like a hippie and he's supposed to be from Africa and then they call it the Middle East, that's a bunch of hogwash that they came up with to steal the land and steal the history of the land. Um, there's what's his name? It's a one popular guy, Jesus or something. It's ethnic sounding. It's an ethnic sounding hippie name. He stole the winter solstice holiday uh, for himself, or the colonizers stole it for their bullshit garbage that they wanted to use and go colonize other lands. Yeah, so if that Jesus guy, it's all bad. Same if you got like other derivatives therein. You got like your Judaism as presented by the Caucasians, the Europeans. That's total bullshit. Um, they got a lot of bullshit holidays and religions. If you came from Europe, it's bullshit, definitely. Um, does your religion encourage you to sit on the lap of obese white men and ask them for gifts? Not only is that religion a scam, they're indoctrinating you for Epstein Island. You're going to sit on your big sugar daddy's lap, ask for presents. Like, that's normal. Like, why is this pervert? Why is he asking kids to sit on his lap? Why is he offering things? This is what they want you to normalize, so they can do this aberrant shit to you. It's all about sex trafficking. If you need more evidence of that, just go watch the Santa Claus Rewind. Go into further depths on that. Um, it's not just flying by the seat of my pants. It's some science to back up this theory. Next, we're going to be looking at: do you celebrate your religion by wearing a Roman torture device? Um, like a device that they use to torture your savior on, because that's more so romanticizing the death of the savior. Like you look at something like the Ankh, right? This is what it was. It's plagiarizing. They called it the hook cross or the cross of the Nile. This was the key to life or the key to the Nile. They in this, I don't know if you can see that. They call it an Egyptian hieroglyphic. It's not really Egyptian. It became Egypt when the white people discovered it. But before that, it was Hyksos and Kemet. I like to call it Kemet because that's when all the major temples were built, and Kemet means the land of the black. So it's like before the Arabs, because the first Caucasians were the Arabs. Um, you had, Egypt had like several uh, uh, bouts for power. So one of them was they had Darius the Great of Persia. He ended up taking over for a while. Then he was kicked out when the people of the land were working with Alexander the Great. Uh, and this is when the Greeks stepped in. Um, they appreciated the Greeks. The Romans were complete garbage. The Romans, they probably killed Alexander, burned down the library of Alexander. That's Constantine. He burnt that shit down. Uh, Created a Roman version of Christianity that he forced onto the people, even though the Romans were the bad guys in their own text. Um, and that's like, what a lot of the super racist people refer to as the beginning of civilization. It's just really when white people discovered Africa again, rediscovered it. Because let's never forget, the first Europeans were black Africans. Someone tried to fight me last year for saying that. He was like sarcastically saying, "Happy Black History Month." I was like, you should be celebrating it, And I told him the first Europeans were black Africans, and this motherfucker was trying to square up. Dude had like a Iraq War veteran hat on, which I don't knock people who wear that shit. All my family's military, and a lot of the people I see wearing that kind of stuff, they go to events and they're like, "I'm an Iraq War veteran," and I'm totally against what the military is doing right now. I've seen that a lot. I don't think he was one of those people. I think he just celebrates the white supremacist structure. I would never call him a white supremacist. There's no such thing as a white supremacist person. Because if you need white supremacist structures, that's you admitting that you're not supreme. Michael Jordan doesn't say I'm the best at basketball. Now let's play. Spot me 20 points. You give me 3 points for every shot I make. You only get 1 point. If you actually think you're the best, you don't need to rig the game against other people. But yeah, that's the Romans. Like America was built in the style of Rome, built by like your worthless people. Like let's look at the current structure. You got Trump. Uh, what's his name? Elon Musk. People complaining about people getting $65 a day in Social Security. Like that's a waste of money, according to them. Elon Musk famously said, "You can't fix the homelessness epidemic by giving people houses." And he said that while he's still in over $8 million a day in government subsidies. This motherfucker has $600 billion. That's how worthless he is. The fact that you feel like you need that amount of money means you have no value at all. And the fact that he's stealing it from Americans, and well, oh man, the shit that he said about South Africa. He was complaining about white people in the South African ghetto. And South Africa, they have mechanisms to contain people like him from stealing all of their money. And he complains about that, like something's wrong with South Africa. We need to figure out how to contain people like him as well. These greedy fucking shitbags. That's that. They want you to praise this kind of shit. This Roman ideology. This history that started with Rome. That's why they call the West, when it rises, they call it the end of history. That they destroy everything else and they make you believe all that bullshit. So if you got that Roman torture device that is a knockoff of the Ankh, your religion is a scam. And your government is probably creating some kind of task force to go after a black messiah like the United States did with COINTELPRO. Now, on to the fourth sign that your religion is a scam. Was it used as a tool for colonization? Did people go onto foreign lands and force a book onto them and make them read a bunch of bullshit to see if they were civilized, and a bunch of bullshit that they stole from the people who they were colonizing. Let's never forget, uh, before Constantine burned down the Library of Antiquities, which became known as the Library of Alexandria, um, what they did was go through the stories from Africa, from Babylon, and all these ancient civilizations, and then they plagiarized all that shit. The story of Enki, that they used that for the story of Noah, except in the Enki, he was the creator god, and he gave their version of Noah the two essences of every animal instead of two of every animal. And if you look at like that old, um, what became, you probably see it at a barbershop, it's a snake, two snakes wrapping around a pole, looks like the double helix in DNA. That they were talking about the essence of every animal, and they had already understood what DNA was many millennia before Francis Crick or whatever European stole that shit, and then claimed it was there. Usually, when you hear something, scientific mathematic term named after a European person, is basically the first white person to understand it. They just like, oh, that's my idea, when they stole it from Africa, or civilization much older than Europe. Uh, Fifth sign that your religion is a scam is your book named after a monarch uh, who is also known as a enslaver, like a King James Bible. That's definitely a scam. King James, he loved slavery. They named Jamestown, which was the largest slave quarters at one point in America, after him. Bunch of hogwash. These are evil people. You can't get morality from evil, right? And the fact that they can use the same book to commit genocide, theft of land, just destroy the world. I had a mentor. He said, uh, "Why Jesus killed more people than the nuclear bomb." Very true. True to this day. Um, because you look at what, like, basically what's going on in Israel, which is, I call it the land of Kemet, because once again Egypt became Egypt when white people discovered it. When it was Kemet, it was much bigger. It went down to Sudan, it went into Jordan, it went into Israel, it went into Palestine, all of these lands, and then it got carved up uh, once white people discovered Chinese technology. Um, but yeah, it is. Uh, um, I don't knock anybody who is Christian. There are some legitimate forms of Christianity. Like if you get your Christianity from the Ethiopian Bible, I feel like that's closer to what the original word was supposed to be. By the time that you start getting into Romans and the King James versions and all that shit, it's complete garbage. It's a tool. It's a mechanism of control. It's the slaves' religion. That's why they didn't want people to know how to read, but you better know that damn Bible, because the Bible is not your friend. They want you to get hopped up on this Jesus fella. And at the same time, the Jesus, I mean, if the only thing you took from that Bible is that Jesus is a revolutionary and you are a revolution, you are all about that. I mean, I'm not going to knock it. You got some kind of a message from it. But yeah, I rarely see Christians who are actual revolutionaries out there trying to subvert the modern Roman Empire, bring it to its knees before it destroys the world. So. Oh yeah, is this live? Yeah, you bet your sweet bippy it's live. Are you Palestinian? They are. These are my Palestinian folks, or Kemet, depending on which time you go back. Greek. Halloween too, yeah. Thanksgiving was a fall festival. Thanksgiving was a theft of land as well. If it's named after me, who they daddy? I'm not gonna call you my daddy. My dad's birthday is actually coming up though. Um, Caduceus, Greek. All right, bro. Love your content. I'm trying to drink eggnog and love life today. Well, please do that. I mean, one thing I do. I hope people take away from the holidays. Not the garbage they want to brainwash you with, but if you can use it to bring your family together, that's a beautiful thing. If your family comes together and then they get pissed off because they didn't get the right gift, or you knocking people's heads off on Black Friday, like you completely lost the message. I hope you figure out life. I hope you find a better alternative to whatever religion you're on. Maybe drop the religion entirely. I don't even like. I hate the term uh, atheist. Um, that's because that was like used to describe anyone who didn't buy into the monotheistic religions that were pushed on them by European nations. So it was like their way of saying you're spiritually impoverished if you don't buy into this bullshit. And they use that to go into civilizations like and be like, you guys are savages, you don't even believe in Jesus. And then they would kill them. Like when you get to Australia, they would bury the indigenous people up to their necks in sand and kick their heads off, cut off the penises of men, watch them bleed out. I mean, they did some disgusting shit, and then they called them savages. The hubris. Catch you on the flippity flop. I do have some flip flops on. Now I appreciate you popping in. This was like I wasn't planning on going live. Now I was like, we got to do something about Christmas because I really I got a lot. Most of my family super Christian and super military, which you would think they're opposing forces. Like, how can you be a Christian and then sign up for the American military, where you would be, just one of your jobs is to kill a bunch of foreigners. Like you would basically be killing the modern day Jesus. But this is like the deep level of brainwashing that's instilled in us. And I look at it kind of like modern day pilgrims. You know, uh, pilgrims, they were religiously persecuted by other Europeans, and then they used that persecution to go to another land and steal it and commit genocide. And then we get surprised when we look at what's going on in Israel. Same shit, different day. Same shit, different flies. Um, and it's just, it's crazy that like the narrative is just so similar. It just makes me wonder, like, what did it look like when the Pilgrims came over here? Like they say the same bullshit, like you're anti-Christian, and as they killed the people who taught them how to live off of the land, they were committing cannibalism. Now we hear like, oh, they had to come over here because they had cannibals in the Americas. So we had to go save those people from dying from cannibalism. And then we committed genocide on them. And then we establish Western culture, don't even call it civilization. Um, then with all that technology, we have cannibals who live right down the street from supermarkets. So motherfuckers who could just pop in and go get something, pop it in the oven, super easy, or get something that's already made uh, with so much ease. Instead, they go and eat people. And this is actually pretty common because it's a sick society. That's why we got like all this high murder rate. Uh, all the vile shit that happens in America is because we have piss poor incentive structures. Like the most fucked up violent people I know are the people who are trained by the military to be fucked up and violent. So like the most fucked up violent people in my family trained by the military. Most abusive people I know trained by the military. It's just like, what does it do to one's mind? It destroys it. And a big part of it is feeding this bullshit dogma to them. This scam of a religion. You know, and like the most fucked up people, they think they're the best because they go to the church the most. It's crazy. That's like, it's one of the things that I always look forward to family get-togethers. Like the super religious family looking down their nose at other people who, don't have the biggest, best church hats, don't spend the most money on tithe, and then they abuse each other. We don't find out the dirt till years later. One of my aunts, man, found out she was getting her ass beat routinely. She stole so much of my grandma's money. She went to church every day, but her husband, who was like beating her ass over decades, like she used all that most of my grandma's money to help him get in the office. He spent more of my grandma's money than anybody in my family, and yeah, they went to church every day. They looked down their nose at everyone. They thought that they were worthy of the money more than anybody else. Um, yeah, basically just religious pimps. That's why I have disdain when people say I look like a pimp. It's not like a flattering compliment for someone like myself, because I've experienced the exploitation. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah. So yeah, no, and it's just I want to do something else for um, New Year's. I want to do like a top five 2025 experiences. But there's so many to choose because this year was so wonderful in so many ways. We got the Venezuela war making a comeback, and it has. I actually have a good history with the conflict in Venezuela because it was back in 2019. I was making a video on Venezuela. Um, that's when I discovered Boots Riley in the coup. I was looking for clips, and then I found there was a Boots Riley a speech posted by Code Pink, where he was saying, "Now's the time to do everything in your power if you are an artist to try to stop this war." Um, and that spoke to me because I'm like, yeah, I definitely, I'm against all this senseless war because not only am I, against it morally, just like the America knowing its history, it thinking it could tell anybody uh, the difference between right or wrong when we got a bunch of Epstein blackmail victims in office committing genocide routinely. But I'm also against it because, like, most of my family, like I said, they're military. So if we have any conflict, it's going to be loved ones that I lose. So, like, back in 2016, it was my niece. She was in a, it was a coup that the CIA was trying to pull on Turkey, and they ended up capturing a bunch of the soldiers on the American side, and they were holding them captive. My niece was one of them, and I had like my sister who was like having us pray for my niece, and I'm like, why are we praying for her? Why is she over there? What is she doing over in these people's land? Turkey, much older than America. And the Turkey, they try to whitewash the history, make you think they're all the light skinned European looking people. That's what it looked like, but it existed much longer than anything in Europe. But they definitely want to steal all that shit. That's a big part of why we go to war with them. We bomb, destroy all of the infrastructure. So the history, in Palestine, some of the oldest churches in the world were bombed. Like, why would they do that? Because it shows a history before white people existed. And it's just, I don't know if you're familiar with I think it's the Piltdown Man. This is why I hate the British. It's one of the most vile people in the world, the government. Which I guess you can say is pretty much everybody, because if you take in Prima Nocta, they all got some similar lineage. A lot of incest in that place. But Piltdown Man was like, when they were trying to prove that the British were the home of civilization, the home of the original man. They created this false, like they mixed human bones with monkey bones to make it look like they had ancient link that was the oldest connection of human history, and that the original man was in England. They even put cricket bats by it, so they thought the first sport that they played was cricket. Because these are some of the most vile people. And like I say, they call it the end of history when the West rises for a reason, because they will destroy your history. They will make a bunch of bullshit accusations and claims to make it seem like everything just started with white people. That's why it's just like I hate all of the schools. Like, I went to physics class. They got this thick ass book, super thick, intimidating. Most of it is not formulas. Most of it is a bunch of bullshit. Uh, uh, Talking about, like they started off talking about, what was it, Beta? It was a scientist. It was a Roman scientist named Beta who figured out the circumference of the Earth many, many years before we had the technology to do so. He just did it with all this mathematic equations and all this stuff. And it was, he just so happened to be working at the Library of Alexandria at the time, the library that they burnt down in Africa. And all of their major scientists were similar, Socrates and Plato. All of that shit came from Africa. But then they burn the history. They make it seem like, oh no, the Romans, they figured that out on their own. That's why it's important for us to know when our religion is a scam, because it is bullshit. Yo, Nate, what did it do? What's going on, Detroit Chicken Patty Hustler? I miss you on YouTube. Your videos was so great. Well, fuck YouTube. They kicked me off for the last time. But matter of fact, I was hearing that they were supposed to be letting some people come back, especially when it comes to like the purge of COVID. Like they just changed policy. Some people got their shit back, but I've been a problem for a long time. I wasn't just right about COVID. I was right about too many psyops for them to let me back on that motherfucker, because I'm dangerous for their narrative. Is the wardrobe Street Fighter inspired? Revolution. Revolution the musical. If you haven't, maybe you weren't here, but yeah, I wrote a play, Revolution the musical. I had a scene used in a musical. They made me rewrite it. Couldn't even say guillotine. Couldn't use the music for it at all, because it was just like the theater. It was funded by Bill Gates and a bunch of other atrocious people. Bill Gates, probably the one that you probably know. He's also in control of a lot of the goings on at Google and YouTube, because let's never forget, Google was funded by our tax dollars from the gate. Turn on reactions. Pause because you weren't using the app. What the fuck are you talking about? But yeah, Google was started at the Bill and Melinda Gates lab in Stanford. He's always had his finger in that pie. So when I started questioning him, I got censored on YouTube. I have a Revolution the musical. they don't even use a guillotine in the play, but they word guillotine was mentioned. Then they made me rewrite it in a way that it made no sense because we couldn't have a conflict resolution, even though that was not there was going to be no heads rolling. I got to repeat that, but it was like it just got censored, covered up, and the director, oh man, she was a piece of work. She was like one of those people. She had all the Ukraine colors, the Ukraine pin, Ukraine everything. Like, what about Russia? Russia, they're the big bad. And then like nothing to say about Palestine because she's dyed in the wool Zionist. All this crazy shit. You know, it's just she's so open minded to anything that supports white people. And then she was also one of those people like we started every class, every rehearsal with 20 minutes of people giving their pronouns, and I got to see people changing their pronouns like 13 times in a quarter, just like yeah, no, yeah, but she did not want that message. Revolution is not what she was about, but. So I had no say. I didn't have. I wasn't able to direct it. This is when I realized if I'm going to have any of my plays uh, shared in any venue, I got to be the director. Because if you write something and you're not and you have no creative control, it's just going to be a shit show. Um, I didn't even have any say on who they chose as actors. I thought if it's my shit, obviously I'm going to be acting in it since I know the characters. They chose no. They chose a bunch of no's. And then you look at the wardrobe, like man, it was crazy. It was like I said, the main character was someone who changed their pronouns 14 times that quarter. The wardrobe looked nothing. It was all about a superhero. It was a bat doofus character who was like a billionaire superhero who was like really the bad guy. And then you had like another hero. And I was like, after that, I just started working on my own wardrobe. You know, I started getting hired doing wardrobes for other plays. Um, so yeah, this was like I always. But next time I get my shit played, even if I'm not directing it, I'm like, if I have any scene in wardrobe, I just want to make sure I already got the shit ready, so it looks like something I could be proud of. Um, so yeah, it was. Uh, yeah, long story, and there's more to it, but that's about as far as I'm gonna get into it. I got like other stuff. It's just when it's something I'm proud of and be around and actually direct it, and I get to have a say in the wardrobe and all of this stuff. Yeah, I'll film it. I'll share it with you guys. Right now, it's on film. It is a debacle. It is not something I want to share until I can actually be proud of it. Um, that's harsh for them. Blacklist you on their channel was growing. You inspired me. I want to make videos like yours. I appreciate it. Yeah, and maybe that's it. Everyone was inspired. One of the things that frustrated me after I lost all those channels, I was like going in. It was somebody who basically just ripped off the format of my videos. It was like a white chick, and she was like, uh, uh, still in the format, none of the heart. Everything that she said was just so yuck. It was, reason I ended up like feeling comfortable on YouTube um, because it was a platform to share my perspective, my point of view, which was untraditional. I got like my own little history. Makes me look at the world a lot differently than a lot of folks. Uh, some people they uh, take the format, and then they just try to bring their same bullshit that people went to the internet to get away from, and they just a lot of that shit is sanctioned by the networks like Full Screen and shit that I work with. They're like, yeah, we want something like this guy because he gets so much attention. but we want you to like just basically undergird our bullshit narratives, and that's basically what I saw this chick doing, and it made me sick to my fucking stomach. And they put her on front page, so I went there. I wasn't logged into any account, and it was someone ripping my shit off, and yeah, and she was celebrated, and her shit was just complete garbage. Um, it's not even about like being funny or not. It was just like what she was saying. It was just atrocious shit, and it was just yes. And it's funny because after YouTube made this whole big hubbub about me, I had to be taken down for false information, for misinformation, really malinformation. Because I was saying the truth, it was just inconvenient to their profit margins. But they took me down because they said I was misinforming the audience. And lo and behold, just a little bit later, they bring out Chat GPT, all of these AI videos. Everything is just fake. Now you can't tell what's fake from what's real. So they took me down for misinformation, then they create the ultimate misinformation machine. Now it's like you can't question. You have to question everything on the internet. You have to question reality at this point. Uh, and it was funded by them. So it makes me think like maybe their whole goal wasn't to target misinformation, but to just cause a clusterfuck uh, and make it so that anything is up for grabs. Because there's a video of anything and everything happening because they have the technology to confuse everybody. It's like even phone calls. I don't even trust those motherfuckers. It could be someone using the AI app to make it seem like it's a loved one. It's like it's hard for me to trust anything that's not in person, IRL. It's confusing times, and they made it confusing. That's why don't you miss the real that Nate Flicks. Um, you were looked under a microscope because they seen you could be unstoppable. Well, yes, that they but when they before they took me down, they tried to bring me under that fucking under their influence. So that's like they brought me into these studios. They were like, "We love everything about you. Now you just got to change these 50 things that make you who you are, so we can have you making some money." Right? This is when they were getting me to do that Diddy shit, working with Diddy's son, because it was like back in the day, YouTube used to be the algorithm was based on engagement. Then when they switched it, like when it was based on engagement, they tried to see if they could like bring the influencers in, the ones who are actually engaging, and get them to bend to their will. Um, then after working with me and me making such a big fuss about so many things, calling out so much of their bullshit, um, even when they were trying to pay me to say the opposite, um, that's when they were like, "Nah, we just got to cut all these people off." And then they had already built that infrastructure. I was taken down by something called the Atlantic Council in 2014, and before they took my channel down, they were taking down Palestinians who were posting war crimes by the Israelis back in 2012. Um, and then once they could get away with it, then that's when they were like, "Okay, why don't we just expand? We got uh, the Saudi Arabian government. They can censor people. Then why not let the police department in America do it?" And it was just like censorship here, censorship there, censorship everywhere. It was a cat I approached in 2017, Jimmy Dore. Now he's talking about censorship. I told him about it back in the day. I was like, "Yeah, I got censored in 2014." Then he was talking about other YouTubers who have been censored after COVID, calling them the most censored people on the internet. I was like, "Nah, bitch. I'm not even gonna say it's me. I could say I'm the most censored American." Because, like I said, they were censoring Palestinians a little earlier. They were the test subjects. But, that also led to me covering Palestine way before October 7th. But, I was just awakened to it for my own personal shit. But it's like, I've been censored for decades at this point. You were making views. Yeah, I was the most popular Nate. If you type NATE, I was the first thing to pop up. Matter of fact, if you type NAT, I was still on that list. I was climbing up the NAT list. So now I was going to take up NA, then I was just going to be in. Yeah, so it was just like, it was, I used to love watching that shit. Like every time I would do it, I'd be like, I'd do it from a private browser so I could just see the unbiased, what is the most popular Nate. And I was love watching my rise. And then after Nate's vlogs went down, when Nate Flicks, when I was trying to grow that shit, I could write out my entire channel name, Nate Flicks, and it would still say Netflix. It would replace everything with Netflix. And then it was just shameful. And then like it wouldn't even say Netflix and then Nateflix. It would be like Netflix and Netflix other search terms that went along with Netflix. I'm like, yeah, these motherfuckers are definitely suppressing me. Yeah, but the shadow ban before started happening before my first channel was even taken down. Because it was around the time, was it when 2012, around the time I started doing rewinds. That was when I started to, I had the Schmeishish Brown event when I made a video about someone. She was a content creator, and then it was this was like probably I don't want to say it was warranted for them to come at me, but like how YouTube used to approach me. I made a video about her, and then I got an email saying like you need to take this down because I had her channel information in the video. And this is when I stopped doing links to the videos I was evaluating. But I had the channel name in the video it was referencing, and apparently that led to a lot of people going to her channel, leaving all kinds of nasty shit, and that was not my goal. But like I saw some of the comments, 'cause I was like, how am I going to control what people say? I read some of the comments that they were saying. I was like, you fat nigger bitch, kill yourself. Nate's Flicks or Nate's Vlogs sent me, or that kind of shit. And I was like, nah, we ain't on the same team if you coming at it like that. Like it's, I despise people seeking attention that way. I don't want. I think that the issue we have right now with society is people want attention by any means necessary, and I despise how she was seeking attention. But yeah, that's not the response. Like, if you're gonna be spending that kind of energy hating anybody, it shouldn't be like some insecure little girl. So that's when I started to like end all the videos with "be good to each other." I started doing rewinds where I would look at a lot of the social programming that was in our TV shows and movies, and after that, I started making that change. And then they were trying to bring me into doing all kinds of other shit that I wasn't too copacetic, and that's when I started getting me do these side quests, these TV shows, and girl versus guy videos. But a lot of stuff was not on my channel. That shit is still on YouTube for the most part. But yeah, for my content, I was just like more aware of the effect that I had on people, and I tried to. If I'm gonna make anybody mad at anybody where they're threatening to kill someone or they want someone to fear for their life, I want it to be a person in power. I want it, like if they were sending those kind of messages to Netanyahu or Joe Biden or Donald Trump or Kamala Harris or whatever, it's like I got no qualms. But like poor people, I'm not gonna make like someone whose situation is worse than mine feel bad. That's a lose-lose for me, and once I had that mentality, I became like dangerous. They started like suppressing my own content, uh, um, or trying to, but I was still getting picked up on other websites and shit like that. But it's a long history. I was thinking of just doing something that covers all of that, but it's just so much to get into, and then so much of it has been erased too. So, and the Jack Frost one too. Well, it is Happy Holidays. Go check it out. I was kind of upset, to say the least, when you weren't no more uploads. Well, Netflix.net just posted all those new rewinds, employee evaluations, the new Avatar one. Hello. Hello and welcome and happy solstice. Mm. Almost out of tea. Magic happened. Mm. That's refreshing. Just joined. I don't know what the conversation was about. Well, we started off talking about 5 signs to know if your religion is a scam. That was a while ago. Then we got sidetracked. Started talking about a lot of different stuff. Reading into the comments. Just you know how the shows go. If you've been to one before. But just to recap, your religion is a scam if you have a white African savior. That's clearly a reference. Shots fired at Jesus. Uh, you could argue all of that hogwash that they're using in Israel to colonize Palestine, which I call Kemet, because all of that. I don't, if you read this, it says Egyptian, but Egypt before white people discovered it. It was Hyksos and Kemet that's when they built all of the major temples, and that's the land of the black. I prefer to refer to it as Kemet. Um, Embrace the history. That's the Sankofa. It's going back for what's yours. It's a Ghanaian symbol, but it's like going back for the history that is yours, the knowledge, the wisdom that belongs to you. Another sign that your religion is a scam if they encourage you to sit on the laps of fat strangers. Shots fired at Santa Claus. Santa Claus, he was working for the Mossad. He was getting children to sit on his lap for gifts. He was blackmailing them. He also had the slaves. I don't know if you've seen the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer rewind. South Pole or North Pole was built on slavery. So, and they want you to praise this fat man, do a little dance for him, twerk for him for some gifts. That's how you know your religion is a scam and you're being indoctrinated to be sex trafficked. Then if you got a Roman torture device around your neck, uh, they call it the cross. It's a plagiarism of the Ankh. This is the symbol of life. Gods wore it. You look here, you got Anubis. He has his own Ankh. The gods carried Ankhs. They wore Ankhs because it's the key to life. The only time you see Jesus with a cross is when he's being tortured on it. So yeah, Roman torture devices, no bueno. That's more so celebrating the death of your savior, who you should be trying to emulate. Uh, if your religion is a tool for colonization, that religion is a scam. Total bullshit. You know, and this is also the people who I drew the parallels between my family who's military and my family who's super religious. And the most fucked up mentally ones, they're both super religious and super pro military, which you would think are conflicting because they are. I mean, if you're Jesus like, you're not killing people and stealing their land and resources. But we have a high level of mental uh, issues in America because people are, you know, just that mentally warped. They can use the good book to colonize. And then if your book was written by a monarch who enslaved people, they had major slave quarters named after him, like King James, Jamestown. Your religion is a scam. And if it's a religion, it's probably just a scam anyway. You know, I always say, like, if I lose my sight, you can say I'm blind. I know what I'm missing. I can't see. If I lose my hearing, you can say I'm deaf. What am I if I lose my religion? What is different? Is that I'm losing my indoctrination? The bullshit. You know, these are the things we keep in mind for this solstice. It's not Jesus's birthday. If you want to like get tapped into the actual Christianity, I would encourage you look at the Ethiopian Bible. So if you see that Lion of Judah, some call it the Lion of Zion. Um, that's where everything originates. Ethiopia. Got some cleaning to do. Oh yeah. Um, when it's government funded, yeah, never trust the government. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So if the government says they have a new enemy, I'm reaching out to them. That's why I reached out to Putin, Maduro, Xi Jinping, everybody who they said was bad, and I'm willing to work with them for a revolution. Are you? If the Russians come in and they swipe up all of our oligarchs, all of the billionaires and politicians, and they start holding them captive, are you gonna pick up arms and fight for them? You gonna fight for Bill Gates? Anybody? Not I, said the cat. Just registered. What's going on? Glad to see you leaned into consciousness, Nate. Keep fighting for righteousness. Oh, somebody's got to fight. I mean, they want me to fight for the same shit my family fights for, but it's actually kind of heartening. Some of my family, I had a sibling who it took him to his 40s for me to be able to convince him that Ronald Reagan was not a good president. Like we just had the craziest arguments, and he could hold the weirdest positions where he would contradict himself immediately. He talked about how he's a Black Panther, but Ronald Reagan is a good president. I'm like, you know, Ronald Reagan hated the Black Panthers. And I know a few Black Panthers. You know, I knew the leader of the Black Panthers for the last 10 years in their existence, Elaine Brown. You know, I got to chop it up. I was blessed to meet her multiple times. But I was trying to like convey like you know, you think you're some radical, but it's like you would not be holding that. You would not be celebrating the military as much. And he's got like he encouraged his children to get into that field, and it's just so shameful. And I just got caught up with Godfather of Harlem, the fourth season, and I wish all my family could watch that shit because the fourth season they had a story arc where one of the characters he wanted to go to Vietnam because it gave him purpose. He got to meet Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali was like, I ain't going to no man's war. And then he still wanted to go to war after that. And he just wanted to go to war. And then, they ended up having to kidnap him to get him to not go to war. And I was just like, a lot of the stuff they were talking about, I was like, I wish my family could talk to someone who could like convey all of this stuff to them, because they look at me like I'm the youngest of my siblings, and it's hard for them to absorb a lot of the stuff that I have to say about it. And like if you were around them, you would be surprised how different I am from everyone. I just physically and all that stuff, but just mentally, like the crazy shit that they normalize. Uh, but it's but one of my siblings, he was like starting to wake up. He started like saying stuff. I think he's just hanging out with different kinds of people, because sometimes like I said, he was in his 40s before I got him to acknowledge that Ronald Reagan wasn't great. But then like sometimes I'll be spending like all night, days, weeks to get him to admit to a point. Then he'll get back in his circle, and then he'll just take the bullshit point back that I thought we worked out, where he's no longer saying it. But then it's just it's hard to really change your perspective until you change your circle, because you just go back into being around a bunch of other people saying the wrong shit again. You're like, well, that's only one person. Maybe I was right the first time. No, you were fucking completely wrong. You were able to understand it. Then you just hung around a bunch of dipshits again. Um, yeah, so it's a process. The elf wanted to be a dentist, but he is a slave. Yes, the moral of the story. He definitely was a slave. The Abrahamic Bible has 81 books. Or is that supposed to be Abrahamic? And you wrote Amharic. I don't know if that's different from Abrahamic, but yeah, uh, it's a bunch of different interpretations of the Bible. So uh, yeah, it's just hard for me to keep up with. It's difficult. I remember I was having a conversation with the Black Israelites, and they are an interesting bunch of people. They were using the King James Bible to prove points to me, and then I was like, I was like confused. I'm like, you say I'll read this white man's Bible to me. They talk about how black consciousness, all this shit, and y'all read this old garbage to prove a point. I'm like, at first I was like, is this going somewhere? And they just like they kept going back to this damn book. And now I was like, is this all you pull from for understanding the past? Is this fucking piece of garbage? And they were just like, they were kept telling me King James was a black man. I was like befuddled. I was confused. I was like, are you guys deadpanning me? Is this a joke? What's going on? But yeah, they were super serious. And then when I would try to make make my comeback, they would talk while I'm trying to make my point. Wouldn't even give me 5 seconds to speak. And then it would be like multiple people. And I'm like, just because you guys are all wrong unanimously at the same time, um, doesn't mean that I'm losing or anything. It's just like the fact that you can't let me make my point because you see where I'm going with it. It just it makes me realize you guys probably know you're full of shit. That's why you're silencing me. Because like I can listen to someone like say a bunch of bullshit, and I can laugh, and I can wait for my turn to just destroy everything they just said. Um, but yeah, they wouldn't even let me. They couldn't let me get any momentum in any argument. I was just like, it just reminded me of being in a shitty relationship. I don't know if you ever like been with someone, caught someone doing some shady shit, and you just start trying to bring it up, and then like they just start shutting you up before you can like be like, yeah, but bitch, you stole my car and you fucked another dude in it. They don't let you get to that point. They just like hold you up from making whatever point you were trying to make. Talk about something that happened in the 80s. I don't know. Merry Christmas, Nate. Happy solstice. Amharic is Semitic language spoken by Ethiopians. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Aksumite. Um, Second most spoken language in that region of the world behind Arabic. Salute. And let's not forget, that's where Abraham came from. Abraham of the Abrahamic religions. I mean, he went through a lot of different lands, and they have like the oldest claim of what is it the chalice of Jesus? What was the name of that damn Indiana Jones movie? The Goblet of Fire or whatever the fuck. He stole it from. He had to steal it from the Ethiopians because they've been claiming to have that shit for uh, about 5,000 years. Um, but yeah, I'm still. I got my passport. I'm ready for Ethiopia. Ooh, it's something that Semites is a bigger group of people than one group. Well, and it's something that those Israeli folks are not Semitic people, but the Palestinians are. And it's funny how they weaponized anti-Semitism, even though they're clearly European, a lot of Polacks. You would think they'd be like, no, you don't make Polak jokes. No anti-Germanic. It's blood libel. That's why, and I got no qualms with any of y'all poor white people. None. Uh, but anytime I hear a rich white person playing the victim, whether it's about them being a trans person or a Jewish person, and they're like trying to silence people, it's just like I know it's a scam. I know it, and I say like even black white people, because like I said, my family they get the brainwashing. They basically just start saying the same shit that white people say. But then if you call them out on their shit, like someone like Kamala Harris, right? She reminds me of my sister so bad. That's why I would never vote for her. But like when people started like, hey, this Kamala, she's garbage. She's just a garbage candidate. Nobody voted for her. Why is she being offered up by the Democrats? This is the least democratic thing that they could do. They took one of the people who nobody voted for in 2020 and they forced her on us 2024. You say any of that shit, they'd be like, why are you hating a black woman? Oh, she's black now. I thought she was an Indian, but now she's black. And it's like if you say anything bad about her, it's like it's because you're racist. If you say anything bad about fucking Netanyahu, like he's just a criminal. He should be brought to the Hague. Any of that stuff, you're an anti-Semite. You say anything bad, it was what was that? Forget that damn. It was a transgender Nazi I made a video about who was like openly calling Russian people orcs, like saying how they're prone to slavery because they have that Asiatic blood, the Mongolian. They just love slavery. If you say anything about that person, you're anti-trans. Like, what is going on? It's topsy turvy, the world. Peace and understanding for everyone, indubitably. That's why it's just like I despise that when people just want to do away with nuance, they like turn this side bad, this side is good. That's a red flag for me. When someone is so bad you can't even listen to them. Someone is so horrible. It's just like even if you just acknowledge that they may have a point in one area, if you acknowledge that one little seed of truth, like you're a bad person, red flag. They want you to celebrate a person's death. I don't know if how it was introduced to me. The fact that Charlie Kirk died was someone I was working with. They were like, "Hey, I got some good news." I was like, "What?" I thought it was gonna be something personal from his life. Like I got my tax returns early or something. It was like, "No, Charlie Kirk got shot in the neck." Like, what? How's that good news? I was like, "That's terrible." Like, no, he's shot in the neck in this critical condition. Blah blah blah. I'm like, that's horrible. And I was one of the people who was protesting him. When he came to an encampment I was at. Definitely not a fan of just about everything that came out of his mouth, but I would never want someone to be shot in the neck for it. And then he was perturbed, like that I was not celebrating that this dude just got shot. And then he came back later after he had died, and he was like, "Got better news. He's dead now." And then it was somebody else who started joining in, and they started celebrating. I was like, "What is going? This is crazy to me." Um, and then lo and behold, all these clips started emerging of him coming out against Israel. Him speaking out like, "Oh man, this is suspicious." He was talking about October 7th, how there was clearly a stand down order. He was talking about how Israel has too much influence in our government. I was like, this is probably what got him killed. That's why Israel came out and they were like, "We love Charlie Kirk. We had nothing to do with his death." Yeah, that sounds guilty. Nate, what the fuck you got on? Where the sugar cookies and Santa hats? And if Santa try to come shimmy down my chimney, I'm sending that motherfucker back to Epstein Island where he belongs in pieces. What the? Don't fuck around. I ain't sitting on nobody's lap. Yeah, I'm having issues paying rent, but I ain't about to sit on nobody's lap for nothing, bro. You try, if I see him try to get a kid to sit on his lap, I'm coming at his neck. No Charlie Kirk. Santa? Yeah, Santa. Did I stutter? Santa's getting it. I'm gonna free all of his slaves and send them from the north to the South Pole. The Underground Railroad. I am revolution. Revolution I am. Coal, you get nothing but coal, bro. Coal is a good fuel source. It's a cold world, baby. Plus, I love the black. I just use it to use the ash on my shirt. Keep it nice and dark. You know how I do. Yeah, internet. It has been over an hour. That's interesting because Instagram used to cut me off at the 60 minute point every time. But yeah, I you know what? If I did actually get cold, I wouldn't even be mad because I don't think I'm getting any gifts this year. But that's just how it is. You got it, Nate. Um, no, you got it. And we're gonna do this again. I'm gonna do something to celebrate the new year as well. I'll bring out another radically threaded revolutionary steampunk revolutionary attire. But I do have to urinate. I've been holding it for a minute. Y'all see me just sitting here drinking all this tea. It's about that time. Thank you guys for showing up. Hope you have a good solstice. Uh, I hope you're not like getting your religion from any of these terrible sources. Tap into the source, the source. None of that Greco-Roman history where everything started with Greeks and the Roman civilizations. Realize they got it from the actual source, Africa, Ethiopia. The Lion of Zion. It's the only Zionism I am not opposed to. Remember to be good to each other. It's spirituality, not religion. If Santa shimmies down your chimney, tries to get your kid to sit on his lap, have him arrested, call me. We can handle it. We can do it the easy way or the hard way. And if you're going to be a Christian, I got no issues with it as long as you know Jesus was a revolutionary. Are you? What would Jesus do? He'd overturn this whole fucking system. So if you're out there comfortably dapping hands with the enemy, that's not very Jesus-like. Be good to each other. Peace.